Hello guys, in this video we will talk about a letter to the editor. What is a letter to the editor? It's a letter in which the reader expresses his or her opinion about a recent publication or about an issue of concern. You can probably think of many more specific reasons why you might want to write to the editor. Perhaps you are angry or shocked about something and want other readers to know about it. Or maybe you think that this issue is so important that you have to write about it. Maybe you want to suggest a new idea, persuade others to take action, or educate the general public on a specific topic. Letters to the editor are found in the first section of newspapers or in the editorial page. So how we should write it properly? According to the format which is given here, you should give your full name, address, date, time, telephone number, and email address, and the date at the top of the letter in the right hand corner. How shall I write my letter? So firstly, we should decide with the topic and paper. Your letter to the editor can be a response to a number of things. Most likely it will be a response to a specific article. But your letter could also be a response to an event or an issue in your community. It's best to respond to a particular article that was published by the newspaper. Then your letter will be more likely to be chosen for publication and always be ready for rejection. If you are responding to a community event or issue, your local newspaper is likely to be the most appropriate venue for your letter to the editor. Read other letters to the editor from the paper you have chosen before you start writing your own letter. You should read through other letters to the editor of the paper you have chosen to get inspiration. Each paper's letters will differ slightly in form, style, tone, and even in length. Read these letters to get a better idea of how to paraphrase your letters and to see what appeals to the editors of that paper. Check out the guidelines, which I will introduce a bit later. Most papers will have guidelines for the types of letters they will publish, and most papers have rules regarding the letter's length. They also typically ask that you include your name and contact information for verification. There may be additional guidelines. A number of papers won't allow political endorsement and limit how often individuals can submit. Make sure to read these guidelines before you send off your work. If you can find guidelines for submitting letters, call publication to ask. So there are few golden rules you should follow, and it will help you to write clearly and concise to get the point. The first one, follow the word length established. For example, 100 minimum. Write 3-4 paragraphs. Avoid the following. Do not use slang, contractions, or phrasal verbs. Colloquialism are best avoided. Do not repeat yourself. Stick to the fact. Begin your letter with "Dear Editor" or "To the Editor" if you know the editor's name, however, use it in your letter. So the paragraphs are usually 4 or it depends on the type of your letter. So here I gave 4 paragraphs so that they will include all necessary options points. The first paragraph explains what you are writing about. State the problem or issue that concerns you. And the second, explain why the issue is so important. tell how the problem or issue affects you or others. You should tell what will happen if something isn't done. The third paragraph tells why this is good or bad. There must be given explanation about your view, why the particular action or comments was good or bad. The fourth paragraph says what should be done, by whom and when. And the last one, you should sign the letter. Look at the example. Here you can see that the addresses are given at the top. And it's started with the Dear Editor. And there is no name. And the name was included at the top or without it. Begin your letter to the editor. So make sure your letter is timely by sending in your letter shortly after the article in your question was published. This will improve your chances of getting published, since the issue will still be fresh in the editor's mind and the reader's mind. If you are responding to an article in a weekly newspaper, send in your letter in time for it to be published in the next issue. So beginning. Include your return address and contact information, which here is given. This will include not only your address but also your email address and daytime phone number. If your letter is chosen, the editors will use this information to get in touch with you. If the newspaper has online submission system, it will likely have a space for you to include this information. Include the date. After your contact information, leave a blank line and then add the date. Write it formally as you would in a business letter, such as February 25, 2016, and so on. And here you can see the recipient's name and address. If you are writing an email or sending in a physical letter address, the letter as you would business letter. Include the recipient's name, position, company, and address. If you don't know the editor's name, you can either find it in the newspaper or you can just write to editor. State if you want your letter published anonymously. So it's usually a good idea to attach your name to your letter, and some newspaper won't publish letters anonymously anyway. But sometimes there may be a circumstance where you want to state your opinion, but you don't want people to know who you are. Add a note to the editor that your letter needs to be published anonymously, unless you have written about a provocative issue. It's unlikely that your letter will be published if you have also requested anonymity. You will still need to provide your name and contact information so that the newspaper can verify your letter. The newspaper won't publish your information if you ask it not to. Write a simple salutation. There is no need to be fancy here. Just write to the editor of the Herald, Dear Editor, and so on. Follow this salutation with a comma or a colon. State the article you are responding to. Orient your readers as quickly as possible by stating the name and date of the article that you are responding to. Also include the article's argument You can do this in just one or two sentences. For example, as a literature professor, I must take issue with your editorial. And state your position. After you have stated the argument you are responding to, you should clearly state the position you are taking on the issue and why you feel a certain way. If your authority relates to the issue in some way, then state your occupation as well. Take this time to show why the issue is relevant and important, but remember to be brave. For example, while the article states that college students no longer take pleasure in reading, everything I've seen in my classroom is evidence to the contrary. The article is not only inaccurate but provides a very cursory explanation of the many reasons why students may be challenged by reading fiction in a college setting. Students aren't getting bored with fiction because the novel is no longer relevant. Rather, their enthusiasm is waning because of professors who are losing interest in their own subject matter. Focus on one major point. Your letter is too short to cover much ground. Give your letter more force by focusing on one issue and providing evidence for that issue. Make your most important point upfront. This helps your reader identify exactly what you are arguing from the get-go. If your letter is edited, it will be cut from the bottom up. If your most important point is in the beginning, it won't get lost in the editing. Providing evidence, the most important part. Now that you have stated your position on an issue, you need to back it up with some facts. If you want your letter to be chosen, then you need to show that you have put some thought and research into formulating your letter. Though you don't have a lot of space, just providing a few key facts can make a big difference. For example, in order to provide your evidence, use recent events in your state or community as evidence. Use statistics, data, survey results, tell personal stories that tells a larger point, or use events in politics for support. You can use your personal example to make your point relevant. Use personal story. Readers can more easily recognize the impact that news can have on a person when that person shares a personal story. Say what should be done. Once you have provided evidence for your point of view, end the letter by saying what can be done to address the issue. Perhaps just raising awareness of the issue in the community is enough, but there may be the other things that people can do to address the issue and get involved. Point the readers to actions that can take to be more involved to the issue in the local community. Give the readers a way to find more information on the subject. Name names in your letter. If your letter is intended to influence a legislator or a corporation to take a specific action, name that person or corporation. The staff working for the legislator is collecting news mentions of the legislator. Corporations are doing the same. These people will be more likely to read your letter if you name them specifically. Have a simple closing. As can be seen from the slide, have one sentence that summarizes your point of view on the issue, so your readers have a clear reminder of your message. Include a closing phrase along with your name and city. At the very end of your letter, include simple sincerely or best regards to finish your letter. Then include your name and city, include your state if the newspaper is not your local publication. So this is the end of our video. I hope you found it useful. See you in our next video.